Okay, here we are. This is to answer the call about mm, working out foot foot placement and locking it there and having it, all work out well. Um, and yes, Cascador is a fantastic tool for all of that kind of stuff. But I do this stuff right here in Dad's studio all the time with my what you call canned which, my canned animations, they're motion capture. And, no matter how you look at it, they're somebody's motion capture. I don't feel inclined or feel that I have the talent to actually go out and record my own motion capture. So, nor, nor can I currently afford a full studio or the staff or anyway. So here I am. We've got a Reeser mocap. It's called Look Into Pit from the Ambient Moves collection, and I've baked it to the timeline. And I'm now going to add a cube. Let's just plunk a cube in here. It's going to turn out way too big. That's fine because I'm just going to zingy it down. And now, just so that you guys can see, how this goes, I'm not going to speed any of the video up at all. This is just all uh, uh, the time that it takes. Okay, so here we've got the cube, pulling it over here, and I'm going to rotate it just a little bit, just so that it, works out well with the other leg and all that kind of stuff, with the animation. But there were no rules against that kind of thing, so I'm just going to do it. I'm going to put the cube where I want, and she's going to come and land her foot on that thing, right? And then she's going to look down into the pit. And then we're going to do some other cool things. Okay, so now I'm going to plunk in a plane. Oh, not along the. Here we go. We want the Y positive. There we are. And thunk. And then I'll just drag this guy down a little bit so I can kind of see that sole of the foot squishing into it. And then I'm just going to drop this box down to it. Zing. Yeah, don't need to be perfect, Dart. Okay, now I am just going to move to this selector because I don't want to see the gizmos all over the place. And I'm just gonna, here I am right here at frame 20. I'm just gonna start posing this leg how I want it to be. Now, I am not a fan of in Daz Studio or Poser or any other kind of, the actual other than Cascador. I don't like to pose in the IK method. I pose forward K. So I start with the limb closest to the hip and I work my way away from that. And then I'll go back and forth as I feel that the pose needs it for posture and such reasons. Okay. And so now we just and I don't know if I want her just up on her toe. I'm going to put her right down on her foot. She's going to plunk her foot right down there. So let's just set that up. Yeah, it's not so bad. There. I think that's workable. And then I'm going to do this foot. No, that's got to be not the foot. Yeah, toes. Okay, there's the foot. All right. So then I'm just gonna must be twist. Zing, there we go. In my sliders, it's called roll. But now for this kind of thing right here, setting up this, you don't want to use the pose controls. You want to actually pose the limb itself. Okay. That's important because otherwise you're going to multiply what the pose controllers are doing. Okay. So this is like as if this is an actual part of the motion capture right here. And I'm just going to make a tiny little blend in here, and it doesn't need to be much. So I'm just going to maybe take it from frame 10. And now if I can't remember my exact frame that I was on, because that's going to be important. I don't want to remove that that keyframe that I just made for all of those joints right there. So I just undo my last move and then I redo it again. And now I'm sure that I was on frame 20. And now it doesn't really matter if I had, but that's exactly what I wanted, was to keep frame 10 and remove everything in between there. And now I'm going to run LimbStick. You see, I've selected the foot and then control selected the cube and set the time. And I'm gonna have to do it again. Yeah, that's all right. So we run. First, you select the foot or the hand, and then you control collect what you want it to stick to. And now I'm setting the time to start at 20, and I just want it to run all the way through. I don't want a lot of this other stuff checked, and no errors. That's kind of cool. I wasn't expecting any, but it's always nice. And now that one's going to follow along just nicely. Okay. All the way through. There were no errors or anything like that. Now, I don't have this on the Genesis 9 yet or anybody else, just Genesis 8 female. But I've added these where I can adjust the position and rotation of the hip without actually selecting and manipulating the hip. I'm going to put this on everything because it's just really neat to be able to. So right now I'm actually at the hip level, but not on the hips uh, timeline. Um, I am adjusting the translation and rotation of the hip itself, and that's really cool. It's right here on this keyframe, and I'll just come back in somewhere around here, and I'm going to zero those back out. Okay, so it's going to start like that. And it's a little leany. So in here, we lean back the other way, and then, just to help demonstrate some of this, let's just go ahead and bring it back and do something else with it. Oh, it looks like maybe it doesn't need to be that far forward anymore. It's already looked into the pit and is now talking to somebody. So we'll just rotate the hip back away from the pit a bit, along with I just translated it back in Z, and we just kind of, I'm not looking at the foot. I mean, might want to pay attention to the foot, but I'm not looking at it as far as where it's placing because that doesn't matter. As long as I don't do something that is going to make it look like the foot isn't good. It's not going to work for the foot. Okay, that I would worry about. But yeah, we just that's actually pretty cool. You're getting the gist. You get the idea. Yeah, when you're doing this kind of stuff, it's a habit. You just can't help but always, I'm always keeping my eyes on it to try and make it a little nicer for what I want. But now look at that. We've got five keyframes in there. Five. Okay, uh, there's more than that, but only in five places do we have keyframes for our changes that we've done. Now I'm going to run this again. No errors. When I look at it from right there, oh, look at that. right foot sink into the ground, which is exactly as it should. We didn't take care of that one yet, right? Yeah, I can actually just run that from 20 as well. So I'm just gonna, so now I'm gluing the right foot to the plane, and we did get an error. And sometimes those errors are very minuscule and easy. You just locate them along the uh the timeline here, and then you can just simply grab like two or three, sometimes maybe even four keyframes and delete them, and your little issue will go away. And I'm not even really seeing an issue with this. Oh, it's at the very beginning, but it looks fine. It's fine. There's just that little knee jolt as it hyperextends, which is okay for what's going on here. And then, just to do a little more with this, we can, but right there already you're seeing that you know, Daz Studio, well, at least with LimbStick, is completely capable of uh, the the topic that you were asking about. And so I'm just going to come in here real quick. And again, I'm not going to use my pose dials for this. I'm going to actually use my forward K posing method. And I'm just going to, this one, I'm going to make the transition really small. 4 frames, I'll take it. Boom. There we go. And now I'm just going to bring that forward. Well, that's almost good enough just the way it is. Uh, I want to try and help it so that the elbow isn't constantly hyperextending though. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this back again a little bit and then just put a little bit more bend in that elbow. There we go. And just give this a little twist to accommodate. Okay, good. I just select the hand and I control select the thigh and take note of where I am on the timeline so that I can make sure that that's where LimbStick starts it. And you see that I didn't have this all the way extended. Let's work with that. Why not? Let's come in here and find out where it lets go. Okay. And now, oh, dart. Phew. Okay, where did I lose my collar? There he is. Okay. And now I want to collapse it in here because I want to get rid of all of the frames from the collar on through to the tips of the fingers. And I want to do that for just a few frames. And I'm just picking an arbitrary number of frames, but I do want this very next keyframe gone because that was the one that snapped it right back. Okay, so now we got that. Then I'm going to come right to this very first set of keyframes for the arm. And I'm going to use my handy dandy pose controls. I'm just going to make that look a little more like something. Um, Kudos to Reeser Mocap for setting that up to handle a variety of ways of dealing with what you want your character to do at that point. It could be yelling, could be looking. Um, really like the way Reeser Mocap sets up the motion control. They're very, very well thought out. A lot of these these animation vendors are like that. I've been collecting their motions from the start. So for nearly 15 years, maybe over 15 years, something like that. And I have no complaints whatsoever. They really do a great job. So I just kind of make a few little tweaks like this, and it really it's fun to do. Now, if I decided that I wanted to glue the hand in this position, what I would do is I would just go to my timeline, which is really simple, and get rid of all of those arm adjustments that I just made using these dials, and then I would actually pose the arm to the ear, okay, using my forward kinematics. But I did that. So now I'm just going to come back to the last frame of my limb stick, and then I just select everything that's changed in my arms category and type 0 in there, 0 and enter. Boom. And it's just that fast. You just kind of look around for little white numbers. And now we should have something pretty cool. And there again, this is just quick. I didn't, I'm not keeping this or anything. I just wanted to kind of do a little demonstration on how this all works. Might as well do a little tweaking of this right arm, just being subtle. Okay, so it's been, going on 15 minutes here. That's not so bad considering, I'm just explaining and doing a quick little thing. Um, I would totally uh do something different with that left arm, but it's it's cool. Her the feet are behaving properly. The the hip and all of that stuff. What's beautiful about it is it's behaving according to motion capture with um, some some tweaks as to where the motion capture takes place, but all the motion capture is there. So it's all very nice and smooth. Awesome. Well, so that was fun. I hope this you know gives you an idea of what you can do with Daz Studio. It really is a nice place. Now, Cascador is amazing, but in this situation, I didn't have to go and create this animation. I have it already in my library. I just load it up. I have a vision in my mind, and most of the time, when I have a vision in my mind, I'm thinking from the waist down because that's the difficult part. I pick out what has the right motion to keep those feet planted on the ground the way I want them to, yet gets the character through the 3D space the way I want it to. And then I work out everything above that to my liking, even if I have to, add a different motion capture to that part. Awesome. Peace out, you guys, and have a great day.